Hi everyone and welcome to SPOTLiGHT. Our mission with this show is to introduce you to active industry specialists and stories that will help you achieve your goals in the multimedia industry. Right, so today's guest is the founder of Divas on Decks and an icon in the global music industry. She's been in the music and DJing industry for over 20 years and started DJing at the age of 14. Since then, she's been spinning deep funky tech and electro to progressive house at fashion shows, festivals, parades, corporate events, sports games, and in top clubs both locally and internationally. She's worked with the world's top music retail store, HMV, in the UK as a singles and vinyl buyer as well. She's also appeared on television as a contestant on Mnet's Survivor South Africa, and she's now rated one of the top female DJs in South Africa. Welcome to the studio, Lady Lea.
Hey, what's up?
It's such a pleasure to have you in the studio today.
Thanks, it's good to be back.
Awesome. So, in 1999, you started a record shop here in Pretoria called Flipside Records.
Yeah.
So, walk us through that and how that started and how you got connected to Emendy College eventually as well.
Well, 1999, I had already been DJing for like 5 years. Based in Pretoria, playing along the circuit, etc. And I was playing quite a lot of vinyl at that stage. So we started importing records. We opened a vinyl store, and we were open for like 3 years. Moved to Hatfield, and Emendy opened sort of also in Hatfield, and we connected. They eventually took over my store, not the record store, but the actual physical shop. And we kind of started working together. I did a course with Emendy, and we did other things on the side. And I'm so impressed to see how Emendy's grown, to be honest. I'm like
definitely
blown away. So I did my courses with them, and I made a couple of hits. And then I had a kid, and now I'm a mom, and I'm sort of like running a whole bunch of other stuff.
That's so interesting. So when you're not performing or producing or either DJing, what do you do in your spare time?
Well, I spend time with the family, and I've got Flipside Management where I manage a whole bunch of other DJs.
Yeah, I saw big names like Chana Monkey, Das Kapital,
yes.
Pascal and Pierce, guys like these are huge names. They're all signed on this label.
Yeah.
So walk us a bit through that as well. How did that happen?
I just, with the beginning of Divas on Decks, that was sort of trying to get local young female DJs exposed. So I did like auditions, and I would then try get them gigs. And then that developed into a bit of an agency. And then, further down the line, I realized, to run a proper agency, you actually need big names. It's all good trying to help people to grow. But there's quite a lot of stuff that you have to do on your own before you should get signed as a DJ. So, playing on the circuit, I make friends with all the DJs, and I think, I've grown with a lot of them. Some of the younger guys has grown up on my music and seen my career. So they trust me, as a DJ. And, I'm like their mom. I'm like their friend, their mom, their colleague DJ. So they trust me in how I do business and how I know the scene and look after them. So I enjoy it so much. I love protecting the guys from possible, non-payment, security, safety issues, etc., and making sure everyone's comfortable. It's just like in my nature. And also, just trying to protect the scene as a whole, because I've been messed around so many times by gigs and promoters, and, that now I want things to be done by the book. They need to be, DJs and producers are very important, and this should be taken very seriously. It's a business, it's talent.
Definitely.
You can't just be, random, play tonight for 500 Rand under the table. It doesn't work that way anymore,
Most definitely.
So that's basically what I'm doing now. And I'm also still playing. So my DJing career is still going strong, and I'm not planning on ever stopping to DJ. So it's fun,
Yeah.
Just getting that balance, family and work and DJing, but it's going well. I'm enjoying it.
So super fascinating. So where did your love for music start, first of all?
I think I was born with it, actually, you know. I mean, from as early as I can remember, I was finding music like on the radio, recording it, wanting to play it to my friends as if it was like my new song, you know, and seeing their reaction, and also being able to sort of predict what song would be nice in a certain setting. That was always like my favorite thing. And growing up, I didn't really want Barbie dolls and that. I just wanted a bigger radio every year. My first one was like a little pink one with a cassette. And then, yeah, you know, it grew up until being a studio.
That is so fascinating.
So I think it was always there, you know, and then starting to go, you know, out to nightclubs and stuff when I was very young. Not that I encourage it, but that's just what happened. Just finding a connection with the DJ always, you know, and wanting to be in the DJ box. And, you know, there was a big stage in my sort of raver years that I was that big groupie on the speaker, dancing, wanting every DJ to sign my record. I was like a full-on groupie, raver. And that was just, you know, being so attracted to that person playing the music and making people feel good. Yeah. So, yes, and then I started playing, you know, when I was about 14. And, geez, the rest is history, hey?
Right, so you mentioned that you started out listening to, you know, these records on CDs and all these different kinds of media. So these days, what do you guys use to mix with live, and sort of what controllers do you use now?
I started with CDs actually, and then moved to vinyl for about 15 years, and then back to CDs. That was when Pioneer brought out CDJs that could also have a vinyl mode. So you could scratch and do all those cool things.
So the people who don't know what vinyls are, like what's the difference between a vinyl and your normal USB or CD?
Well, I mean, a vinyl is a record that you would put on a turntable. So you can't really loop and do all those funny things because it's real time playing with a needle. But once you move to CD or now USB, the CDJ can do a lot of those cool things, but can also do more. You know, so looping and sampling and those kinds of things. And it's very cool because it's digital, so it jumps back. With a record, just keeps going. So, and obviously, walking around with big boxes of records is not easy, you know, especially if you're flying and that. So, you know, I won't lie, till today, I still enjoy playing my records because it has just the best feeling. So out of enjoyment, I think vinyl is better. But CDJs and USBs are a lot more convenient. You can do more, you can have more music with you. And, you know, you've got to move with the times. So, yes, there are controllers that you can link up with your laptop and even just USBs. And it's all basically the same thing. Nowadays, a lot of DJs are doing like live sets where they producing live in a sense, or playing samples and triggering things.
Is like the interactive music concept these days, how important is that to add more to your sort of set than just having the 2-track decks? Or do you think people would just love the 2-track decks regardless forever?
In the end of the day, it's about the music. If you're going to, you know, put too much and spend too much time trying to show off that you can do effects for 5 minutes, then you're going to lose the crowd. They want to hear the song, they want to dance, they want to have a good time, you know. So, I mean, there are different levels. There's, you know, shows where there's like scratch masters kind of thing, where you do a 5-minute show of how well you can scratch and cut. So that's just that. It's not like playing a 3-hour set to a crowd and building a mood. And then there is a showcase where you showcase your own productions live and that sort of thing. But also you need to remember to keep the vibe going. Don't, you know, try and do too much intricate stuff, because a lot of the people aren't really watching, they're just listening, you know. So as long as you keep the vibe going, I mean, essentially playing the song and mixing into another song is the core of it. You know, if you're going to add cool things, add it, but it must be cooler. You know, it mustn't like start becoming too much and becoming too irritating because it's live.
Yeah.
You know, so, but incorporating elements of everything is the best, I would say. So like sometimes if I'm playing, I'll do a scratch on a build up, you know, then they're hearing that live element, or you can trigger a sample now and then, but making sure that it stays smooth, you know. So, you know, sometimes simpler is better.
All right, guys, remember to comment and share and tell us what you think. Right, so Leah, tell us a bit more about the highlights and the lowlights in your career. Sort of, you know, it's not smooth sailing every day, and some days things come easier.
Yeah.
So,
I think the highlight is definitely, you know, when you're at your peak, and you're able to tour and play to amazing crowds in different cities, and you know, it's amazing. And it's like your dream come true, you know, because it's everything you wished for. But it is difficult, you know, you get a very little bit of sleep, you're always traveling, and you don't see your family very much. I mean, my biggest part of my career when I was traveling the most, I was lucky. I didn't have kids then, or, you know, I wasn't really, like my parents and that would be happy that I was, you know, achieving my dreams. So I didn't really have a lot of responsibility at home. I could just go and do my thing. But, you know, you still, like I said, you get a little bit of sleep, and there's always like drinks involved. So health is a big issue. Health can be a low part in any artist's life because you're on the move. You don't always eat healthy. You know, you want to have like a tequila with every second person. It's just, you know, that's how it goes. It's the entertainment business. So that's a tough part. And, you know, maintaining and waking up with 4 hours sleep, catching a plane, it's like difficult. But then when you're playing, it's amazing. So I would say that is the good and bad. And, you know, once you are a parent and you have more responsibilities, it's being able to balance that life and, you know, not always drinking at events and doing more sort of, it's more important to go play really well and then go home, you know, have a sleep. So it's a little bit more balanced now.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So I was also looking at your profile. You're also doing some drum and bass on the side and so on as well. So
I did at one stage try the drum and bass thing. I called myself Crazy Lady. A friend of mine just kind of like gave me the name. But that was just purely because I love drum and bass. If I can go to a drum and bass party, I will, for sure. I grew up with it. And, you know, I can mix it, collect it. But I didn't really pursue it that much. It might come up again one day, but for now, I listen to it while I train and, you know, still follow some of the music, but not actively playing. Yeah.
So what are you currently working on? Because I remember we were just listening to your funky beats since like, way back, since like Deeper Side of Lady Lea and, you know, all those albums, you know.
Yeah.
And that was basically the foundation of, you know, the tech house and the beats that we're listening to today.
Yeah, 100%.
So has it changed much?
You know, there are some degrees, but if you ever listen to some of those old albums, you'll hear all the same elements musically, you know, the big bass, the bouncy, still very edgy, happy kind of house. And I think that's what makes a musician special, is that you can play in different venues and 10 years later, or, you know, different settings, and you might play slower or harder or whatever, wherever you are, but they can hear that that's you playing because it's got a certain bounce or a certain darkness or a certain energy while you're playing. And I think now, if you heard me play, let's say at Truth or Ultra, and you compare that set to some of my old albums, you'll still hear similar energies, similar bass lines, similar funky, you know, even playing at a lounge, you'll still hear that bass line come through, but it'll be more chilled, you know. So I don't think it's changed very much, to be honest. Obviously, technically, the music has a bit more quality, but that's who I am, you know?
I guess people don't like your skills, they like your style. So,
yeah.
So what are you currently working on now at the moment? And what can we look out for in the future?
At the moment, we are just sort of going through silly season and taking care of the gigs and all my DJs, preparing for next year, which is 2019. I don't know if you watch this in 2019, then it's this year. Definitely more gigs, touring, my DJs. I'm thinking of making 1 or 2 tracks with a couple of my DJ producers that I work with, possibly Chanda Monkey. We've been sort of speaking about that for ages.
Go check that out. That's going to be really, really hard.
Maybe even a cool remix of one of my old classics, which we're also pondering on.
Please
And
send it our
going
way.
overseas, you know, making life big. You know, I've also opened another business that we've just launched. It's called Zonke Event Specialists. So Zonke would be targeted at corporate events where we would be able to assist with the entire production, not only me playing or booking my artists, but supplying sound, lighting, tents, you know, the whole event management. So that just has sort of come by me having very great, good relationships with certain suppliers. And now we've come together to form this new company, specifically targeting the corporates. You know, and being able to give them music which will suit the people in their company, live bands, you know, all that sort of thing. And I think I'm going to become more involved with that kind of management as well.
Well, yeah, I've seen that you've actually played at sports games, like the ICC T20, cricket. You've been everywhere, from fashion shows up to, you know, you can name it.
Yeah, recently I played for Mercedes-Benz. They're releasing a new car, the whole electric car range.
Oh, wow.
So that was quite fancy. It was very nice.
I can imagine.
And doing some cool stuff, like, you know, more visually stimulating sets where it's like a show with my music, you know, so like touch screens, DJing not just on the decks but incorporating visuals. And, you know, like I said, the corporate people like to put on a spectacular show for their people. So, you know, I'm so up for that. I love a bit of a dress up. I love to be able to wow people. And those guys still want to have a party, you know.
Of course,
you'll see the secretary on the table about halfway through the night, which is what I really enjoy, is getting people out of their shell.
Yes.
You know, through your music and sort of like bringing happiness out of people.
That is
you
very,
know?
very
so
profound.
Big plans, I would say, you know.
That is
and
so
then still
cool.
playing to my general followers who have been there all the years, some of the underground places like Truth.
Oh, yeah.
The big festivals, Ultras coming up, H2O. You know, just keep on enjoying life and doing what you're passionate about.
Wow. So
in the end of the day.
So now that you've mentioned all of this stuff, do you think it's sustainable to go into the music industry nowadays? You think it's a good career path?
I do think it can be. I think it's tougher than people think. Especially with late nights, and you know, the music industry has, I suppose, sometimes not such honest people here and there. Artists try to get, you know, are taken for a ride a lot of the time. So you need to have a tough backbone, but you need to have your fingers in more things other than just playing or performing, because it's very unstable. So you'll have peaks and then you'll think, oh my God, I can do this for the rest of my life. But there will be down points where gigs are not so frequent. So, you know, if you're doing something else, you know, maybe you're good at teaching people, maybe you're good at managing events or having your own events, which is also extremely touch and go. You can lose a lot of money, you know, by one event if it's out of your own pocket. So it needs to be really sort of managed in a way that you won't lose too much, you know, and you know, maybe opening a store like I did. but doing more than just your performance, so that you have that regular monthly job, even if it is in the music industry, or maybe you're good at something else like IT. So try and have some sort of stability, and then the freedom to also go and be creative. And you never know. I mean, sometimes you get very booked for a few years and you can stop the one thing, but then you need to be able to fall back on something when there's those dips. You know, so either it's all within the same music industry, or you doing other stuff on the side.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you having been educated in the music industry and in business and so on as well, how important was that for your success, and how can that improve your odds as an up-and-coming artist?
I suppose, you know, if you don't go and study these things, you will learn it eventually, but it will be through trial and error for a long period. You know, so where you could learn about business and music in like 2 to 5 years, you might do, you know, be out there learning all these bits and bobs, but over the period of 10 years. Experience is a big thing. So, I mean, there'll have to be a bit of both. But, you know, I didn't do a lot of very formal extra education for business and entertainment, but because I've been doing it for so long, and I've now learnt, you know, what's right and wrong, and what works and what doesn't work. So I suppose, you know, start as early as you can. Try to get your help where you can, and get yourself into places. So if you want to, you know, have a nightclub, go to your favorite nightclub all the time. You know, meet the owners, offer to play for free. You know, at closing, you know, you got to sort of like work from the bottom, work your way up.
Whatever it takes.
So even if you do get a degree, you're not just going to start in a high position. You're still going to start by sweeping the floors. So you might as well just be humble at first. Start as that appy that is always there, that can fill in. You know, you need to be able to fill in all the time. And that's where you're going to become needed and wanted and exposed, and, you know, you have to, in a way, prove yourself before people give you major opportunities. So, you know, I've had a lot of people come to me saying, I want to play at your event. I've graduated from this DJ school, and I'm like, you know, I can't just give you a set because you have a certificate, especially if you're an artist. So you need to be doing a bit of both. Yeah.
Definitely, that's so cool. Right, before I ask my last question, how can people get hold of you, and how can they, you know, reach out to all these different companies and so on you have?
You can just sort of find me on any social media, on all the platforms. It's DJ Lady Lea, no H. And, you know, send me an inbox or a DM. I always respond pretty quickly. I'll send you an email address, or we can talk if it's business, or, you know, just want to find out some other things. I'm there, you know, I'm always open to my fans and to try and help people to a degree. I mean, I believe you need to be your biggest inspiration, and you need to do hard work. You know, a lot of people say, like, you know, please help me be a superstar, but you can't. You have to make it happen yourself. You know, and there'll come a point where you can get people to help, like managers and stuff, but that first beginning bit is really pushing your own brand and coming up with a cool brand. You know, that's also something that helps people. I've seen DJs not really get recognized and then sort of rebrand themselves and then blow up, you know. So never be afraid of that kind of, you know.
That's some good advice for you guys. Right, so Lea, what would your best piece of advice be for people who want to be in the spotlight one day?
I think you need to, depending what you want to do, go there and be there all the time. So if you want to be, you know, a gamer, then you need to be playing games all the time. You need to have your own channel. And, you know, it's so easy these days because you have access to all social medias. So make a profile on all social medias. Okay, your brand. So figure out your brand and your logo, who you are. So am I that dark, emo guy that will also get following, or am I that sort of like bouncy guy? Or, you know, who are you? Brand yourself. Start all your social media platforms. Be as interactive as you can. Physically be at the places where you want to be involved. So, you know, go to SABC. Go to, you know, when Roger Good is on the show, you know, if you want to be a radio DJ, go to the SABC and like wave at him through the window. After the 4th time, he'll invite you in and you'll be like, you know, who are you? Go to your favorite nightclubs. Offer the owner a drink. I can guarantee you, after seeing you 2 or 3 times, he's going to start recognizing you. And like I said, be accessible. Always have your music on you. Always be ready to jump in. Always offer, you know, to do the beginning or the end set. You know, at the beginning, you have to do it for free. So you just have to be involved. Social media, so online and physically.
Yeah.
And try to be as current as possible. When there's new, you know, moving from like CDs to USB or certain instrument or whatever, learn, move with the times, you know. And musically, just stay current, I would say. Keep being yourself, but following what's you know, people are enjoying at that stage.
Wow, that is so valuable. Your Royal Highness,
Mouthful, I know, right?
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming today. We
Thanks.
appreciate you coming through and everything.
No, it's a pleasure.
It was really, really interesting listening to your story and you know, how you got there and everything.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Right, guys, so remember to catch us on next week's episode, and as always, thanks for watching.